Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and to just keep adding on to the comedy of errors that keeps happening with these last couple weeks, yesterday I hurt my wrist a little bit, so I'm not able to type really. So we're just going back to the Detachment reviews, even though I don't think too many people care about these videos. Oh, excuse me. And of course I'm still recovering from being sick, and my old drive kicking the bucket. This week has really just not gone my way, huh? So, the knights for today, we're going to do both detachments in one video. First up, we have the Iconoclast Fiefdom for the Chaos Knights. First up, we have their detachment rule of Dreaded Masters. Titanic Chaos Knights unit from your army have the following abilities. Dread Tyrants, which is an aura. While friendly damned unit is within 9 inches of this unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, roll a hit roll of 1 and a wound roll of 1. Chaos Knight units from your army have the following ability, Dark Sacrifice. Each time a Chaos Knight unit with this ability is selected to shoot or fight, it can make a Dark Sacrifice. If it does select one damned unit that is within 6 inches, that damned unit must take a leadership test. If passed, destroy D3 models in that damned unit. If failed, destroy D3 plus 3 models in that damned unit. In either case, then select one of the following capabilities for your Chaos Knights unit's weapons down until the end of the phase. Either lethal hits or sustained hits 1. This is, of course, a super powerful ability, but you may be wondering how we get any damned units in this detachment, and that's where this Wretched Thrall's ability comes in. You can include damned units up to, You can include damned units up to 250 points in Incursion, 500 points in Strike Force, or 750 in Onslaught, and no damned models from your army can be your Warlord. This is pretty flexible. It means you can take Cultists, Traitor Guardsmen, Accursed Cultists, Dark Communes, Cultist Firebrands, Traitor Enforcers, and so on. And this is very useful for Chaos Knights, as they tend to be obviously quite elite, so being able to bring something, just 500 points worth of Cultists, would at the very least be very tempting. And if you're playing Legends, you could even bring things like Cultists with autoguns, or Ogryns, or heavy weapon teams to go with the buffs of the Dread Tyrants. Let's move... before we do this, I guess I'll talk about that when we get to the end. Next up, we have the enhancements. Profane Altar is 20 points. This is for a Chaos Knight model only. Each time the model makes a Dark Sacrifice, the max number of models are destroyed in the selected damned unit, i.e. 6 if the unit's leadership test is passed, or 6 if it has failed. But until the end of the phase, the bear's weapons have both lethal hits and sustained hits 1. This is super powerful for 20 points, though you will need to really build into the masses of cultist build to use this effectively, because you will be burning through those cultists very, very fast. So I would probably go the max 500 points of bringing something like 4 units of 20 cultists, and then 2 units of 10 cultists. So this is, of course, very powerful, and I think totally worth for 20 points if you are comfortable bringing that many cultists. Next up, we have Pave the Way for 15 points. This is for a Chaos Knights model only. Start of the declare battle formation step, you can select up to 3 damned units from your army. The selected units have the Scout 6 inches ability. This is really useful, because, again, Chaos Knights tend not to have Scouts, though I suppose if you brought something like Nurglings along, you could. But this is just useful because it also feeds into your battle plan of having, of course, lots of cultists on the board. Though this does have some overlap with things like Felgor Beastmen if you wanted to use them, or even Accursed Cultists if you wanted to, though given the fact that you're sacrificing a model for every number on the D3, I generally wouldn't bring the more expensive variants to use as chaff, like his chaff to just sacrifice. Next up, we have the Tyrant's Banner for 5 points, Chaos Knights model only. Each time the bearer makes a Dark Sacrifice, select one visible damned unit to take a leadership test instead of a damned unit within 6 inches. This would be... oh, excuse me. Sorry. So this would be really good on something like a Cerastus Knight Lancer, or anything that's going to be running into the enemy lines very far away, or even something like a Knight Tyrant that may be hanging all the way back at the end, and maybe he depleted his supply of cultists to sacrifice. Having this failsafe is very useful for only 5 points, and I think is also definitely worth it. Diabolical Resilience is the next one, and this is a 35 points for Chaos Knight model only. Bears a Feel No Pain 6+ ability, and you can ignore any or all modifiers to its move characteristic, and or any advance and charge rolls made for it. Again, really good. Even for 35 points, I think this would be good. Could be generally useful for just about any knight, but I'd prefer to put it on the tougher knights, whether that be, again, a Lancer, though I would generally give Tyrant's Banner to the Lancer first, or so this would also be really good on something like a Knight Tyrant, just because a feel no pain when you have that many wounds will definitely, make itself up. And I would say this one's probably the best. It's either this or Profane Altar, I think, that are the best enhancements, though I think all 4 of these are very good and have their places. Next up, we're on to stratagems. Avenge the Masters is 1 command point in any phase. 1 Chaos Knight unit from your army that was just destroyed. You can use the stratagem on that unit even though it's just destroyed. So when a Chaos Knight's unit dies, you can use this. Till the end of the battle, the enemy unit that destroyed your unit is marked. Each time a damned model from your army makes an attack that targets a marked unit, that attack has the lethal hits ability. Again, this pairs pretty well with Legends, things like Renegade heavy weapons teams, or even just regular Trader Guardsmen. And even though, again, they won't be dragging down tanks or anything, just normal cultists, if they get to grips with something, especially a huge unit of them, could definitely just stack saves and chip some wounds off of something. So this is something to keep in mind if you are sort of backed into a corner. For 2 command points, we have Wretched Masses. So this would be 1 damned unit, excluding accursed cultists, of course, from your army that was just destroyed. You can use a stratagem on that unit, even though it was just destroyed. Add a new unit to your army identical to the destroyed unit in strategic reserves as its starting strength, with all of its runes remaining. This is again, I would say pretty solid thing to use just to get more points back on the board. If you're running a humongous unit of cultists, that would obviously be your best bet. Though, in terms of non-reinforced, or even including reinforced units, I believe the Legends Gellerpox Infected are the best thing you could hit this with. Though also, things like Renegade Plague Ogrins are super tough, so giving them a respawn could be really nice. And overall, this is definitely something I would try and make use of if I'm using this detachment, just to sort of increase the points differential between the armies. Soul Hunger is 1 command point in the fight phase just after a Chaos Knight unit from your army has fought. That Chaos Knight unit, if 1 or more models were destroyed as a result of those attacks, your unit regains up to D3 lost wounds. If 1 or more models from Battle Shocked unit were destroyed as a result of those attacks, your unit regains up to D3 plus 2 lost wounds instead. So this, of course, would be great on your Knight Rampager, your Knight Lancer, whatever it may be. Just healing a few wounds could be enough to keep your Knight alive another turn, which could just be so invaluable. And in theory, you could use this in either fight phase, so you could just be regenerating a lot of wounds on your big Knights. Or even something like not a Rampager, Carnivore could make good use of this. Oh, excuse me. Understained Rage is 1 command point in your movement phase. Just our Chaos Knights unit from your army advances or fall back. That unit. Till the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge, turn which advance fell back. Really good to have on a command point. Really good just in general to have on hand in case something you have that's shooting is tied up, or if you have something that can fight and you want it to fight something else. Just always good to have. Worthless Chattel is sort of the signature stratagem of this detachment, if you will. This is in your shooting phase, 1 damned unit till the end phase. Enemy units are not considered to be within engagement range of your unit for the purposes of selecting targets for ranged weapons. Till the end of the phase, each time an enemy model loses a wound, while that model's unit is within engagement range of 1 unit, roll on 1d6. On a 4+, 1 model from your unit is destroyed after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks. So this is very wordy, but basically you get to ignore damned units in infantry, damned units in combat with something, and can fire at full effect with your Chaos Knights, though you will likely kill a few of them. This is, again, also super useful. It means that tar pitting things like Land Raiders is even more effective, as you can simply charge your cultists in and then have your Knight Tyrant just absolutely decimate that thing from super far away with no real loss in value. So definitely super good, and I would do my best to make use of that. And then Preserve the Idols is 1 command point in your opponent's movement phase. When an enemy unit ends a normal advance or fall back move, 1 Chaos Knight unit from your army that is within 9 inches. Select 1 damned unit from your army that is not battle shocked, not within engagement range, or if 1 or more enemy units that is within 6 inches of your unit. That damned unit can make a normal move of 6 inches, but it must end this move closer to the enemy unit that it started with. Reactive moves are always very good. This one is, of course, mainly there to give your big knights a screen to just protect them from being in melee. which is, of course, very useful. But even still, this could just be very useful to reposition onto objectives, or just simply get closer to something that you really need to jump next turn and need dead. This is just generally useful to use. Overall, I think this detachment is really powerful, and being able to bring all these cursed damned units is really nice. In terms of best units for it, I think the Knight Tyrant honestly could be pretty solid, just because giving it sustained hits on that Volcano Cannon is so nice. But the definite winner here, I'd say, is something like a Chaos Knight Despoiler, equipped with akimbo battle cannons, or Gatling cannons, and then just give it lethal hits every turn, and it will be doing so many attacks that are so powerful, you will be doing insane amounts of damage, just the whole way around. And overall, I think this is just a really solid attachment. And this would even be very useful for things like brigands or carnivores, as I mentioned earlier. And I think all the rules here are good. I don't really think there's any duds. Avenge the Masters is definitely the most niche, but there's points where Avenge the Masters will be the most important thing in a game. Well, that covers our Chaos side. Let's move on to the Imperial side. Alright, we're back onto the Questor Forge Pact. So this one is pretty similar to the Chaos version, but instead of armoring in a bunch of insane cultists, you're allying in some AdMech, though it is also a little more restrictive in what you can bring. So the detachment rule is Cogbound Alliance. Imperial Knight unit from your army have the following ability. In your command phase, one model in your unit regains 1 lost wound, so already not too bad. If your unit is within 3 inches of one or more friendly Tech Priest models, one model in this unit regains up to D3 wounds instead. This is very good, because it just means all of your knights are passively regaining 1 wound, and if you find a way to bring a bunch of Tech Priests with them, even better, as they'll be healing much faster. And Adeptus Mechanicus units from your army have the following ability. Divine Inspiration. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. If this unit is within 6 inches of one or more friendly Imperial Knights, reroll a wound roll of 1 as well. In terms of allies you can bring, Incursion up to 250, Strike Force 500, Onslaught 750, and no AdMech models can be your Warlord. So fairly standard ally stuff, but you can only bring in the following units. A Tech Priest Dominus or Manipulus, a Skitarii Marshal, and then the 2 kinds of Skitarii troops. Sorry, I'm trying to get some mucus out of my mouth. Rangers or Vanguard. The combined points cost, I already covered that. So this is also very useful. I would generally say Rangers are the way to go, just because of their ability to... What is it? Do they have Infiltrators or do they have Scouts? I think they have Scouts. That are quite useful. And they also do appreciate, of course, reroll 1s to hit and wound when they are near their big Knight brothers. Of course, you will want to bring some Tech Priests. I don't see too much value in the Skitarii Marshal, but there may be something later that could be very useful. Hold on, I'm going to pause for a moment. Okay, we're back. So enhancements again. Omniscience Champion for 30 points. Imperial Knights, model only. Add 4 to the Bearer's Wound characteristic. This is pretty dang good, because Imperial Knights already have a lot of wounds, and this just makes it even more painful to scrape those off. Of course, do keep in mind, this can only go on characters, so you can't put this on something like a Porphyrion, but you could certainly put this on a Lancer or a Knight, Castellan, for that juicy, massive amount of wounds. A Knight Lancer would be all the way up to 28 or 29 wounds, which would be crazy. A Castellan would be at 28. Super useful. Though for 30 points, I think it's about the right price. When you look at wounds, generally 10 points per wound is the preferred sort of exchange rate, if you will. Knight of Opus Machina for 20 points. Imperial Knights model only. Each time the... Hold on, I need to pause again. Okay, where were we? Knight of Opus Machina. Imperial Knight model only. Each time the bearer makes a ranged attack, the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more Adeptus Mechanicus units. God, there's a really stubborn bit of mucus that just will not get out. Anyways, reroll a hit roll of 1. This is also super useful. Your knights are already quite accurate. Getting them reroll 1s is super nice for anything, really, whether it be an anti-tank weapon, with only a few shots where it's important to make all those shots, or something like a knight with akimbo battle cannons who really appreciates the reroll ones. Magos Questoris is 35 points. This is for a tech priest, interesting. While the bearer is within 3 inches of one or more friendly Imperial Knights unit, it has the load operative ability. In your command phase, select one friendly Imperial Knight model within 3 inches of the bearer. That model regains up to 2 lost wounds. So for 35 points, I think this is honestly a little bit ridiculous, though not the worst, because again, this would be something for like a Knight Castellan who's sitting on your home field objective, just plinking away with its gun. And this could, of course, give it just more healing, which is very nice, and also means your Tech Priest will not get blown away. And then if you combine that with Knight of Opus Machina, of course, your Knight Tyrant will, Knight Castellan will be super accurate, and it will be healing not as much spikes, but significantly more consistently. The Vocifer Magnificat, which is an aura for 15 points. Imperial Knight model only, while an enemy unit is within 6 inches, worse than the leadership character, so model by 1. While a friendly AdMech unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, improve the leadership characteristic of models in that AdMech unit by 1. For 15 points, this is completely pointless, and I would not bring it in almost any circumstances, just because it's such a weak ability. Next, we have Omnisci. We have the stratagems, of course. Omnisci's Grace is 1 command point in any phase just after a model wound is allocated to the Knights or Mechanicus. You get the 5+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. This is really, really good for a lot of reasons. The one that immediately comes to mind, of course, is the protection from devastating wounds. So something like sorry, I just got stunned for a moment. Something like a, Hammerhead gunship, firing off its ever-terrifying railgun, is just not as, obviously, it disincentivizes them to get a 6 because that huge damage can be massively reduced by this Feel No Pain. For 1 command point, this seems immense. This is also useful against the what are they called? Thousand Suns, because they like to spam out their mortal wounds with things like Doom Bolt, which of course would be reduced by this. The Vengeance of the Messine Cult is 1 command point. When Imperial Knights unit from your army that was just destroyed, you can use a stratagem. Until the end of the battle, enemy units that destroyed the unit is marked. AdMech models gain lethal hits when attacking them. This is pretty nice. Of course, you're not bringing the heaviest hitters of the Adeptus Mechanicus, but this is still very useful for just something like a unit of Rangers or a unit of Vanguard with just their basic weapons even will very much appreciate it. Of course, they can just bring a lot of shots with things like their radium carbines, which really appreciate the lethal hits, because they're low strength but high amount of attacks. And then, of course, if you include things like the arc rifles, plasma calivers, and transuranic arquebuses, it's a very useful thing to have, even if you don't have something like the ever-powerful Cataphrons to make use of it. Bonded Imperative is 1 command point in your command phase, just before an Imperial Knight's character unit from your army uses a Bondsman ability. That Imperial Knight's character unit, when selecting a target for that use of that Bondsman ability, you can select one from the AdMech unit within 12 inches of your unit, in addition or instead of selecting one armature unit. Till the start of the next command phase, every model in that Adeptus Mechanicus unit is affected by that Bondsman ability. You cannot target a Knight Preceptor with this stratagem. So this would, of course, require a little bit more universal knowledge of the the Bondsman abilities, but of course the restriction is you can't use it on a Preceptor, which of course means that you can't give them extra OC to an obscene amount, because I believe that would bring them up to like a crazy 40 OC in a single unit. But this is, of course, quite useful for any of the Questoris or even the Cerastus model knights. I'm going to quickly run through them and see which ones I think are specifically very nice. The Crusader, of course, gives you +1 to hit, which is generally pretty nice. Again, just not the most impactful on battle line troops, but could have its place. They're probably one of the least interesting ones. The Knight Errant gives them Assault and reroll advances, which, again, pretty useful for Skitarii. They don't have Assault on their weapons, so being able to run around and shoot is pretty nice. And then moving on from the Errant, we have the Gallant, which is, of course, the melee knight. I can't imagine this will be useful. Well, the model is this is reroll charges, and each time a model makes a melee attack, reroll the hit roll. Of course, this is completely pointless on Skitarii, as they are so wimpy in melee, it's not even funny. Moving on, we have the Paladin, which is the gives... Okay, so this is the one to do it with, I suppose. It would be the Paladin, because this gives them lethal hits and lance, but they're not going to be in melee. Yeah, that's really useful. Just hit them with a, 30 lethal hits attacks off a radium carbine or something like that, or, counting the special weapons, whatever it may be. Excuse me. And, even with their mediocre melee, +1 to wound will mean they can at least punch light infantry significantly better than usual. Definitely one to keep an eye on. And then we have, of course, the Valiant and the Warden. The Valiant gives them... what am I talking about? The Valiant's the Giant Knight, not... Yeah, the Warden. The Knight Warden is -1 damage to a unit, which is really good, but maybe not the best on Skitarii, because it doesn't really do anything for them. They lack a feel no pain and also are only 1 wound. So, not the most useful on them. But I think with a Paladin, this would definitely be worth it. Just because, again, lethal hits is really good. Machine Focus is 1 command point. In your command phase, 1 Imperial Knight unit from your army. Until the start of your next turn, your unit can ignore any or all modifiers to the following: the weapon skill or ballistic skill, the weapons equipped by this of the weapons, and any hit or wound roll made for it. This is really good because it means you're immune to -1 to wound, you're immune to -1 to hit, and even, of course, weapon skill and ballistic skill modifiers, which have their places, so being able to just ignore them on command is really useful. Then for 1 command point in your shooting phase, we have Aggression begets Aggression. So 1 Imperial Knight unit from your army, or 1 Imperial Knight's character unit from your army, and 1 friendly AdMech unit within 3. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by their model in your unit have Assault. Just generally useful to be able to have on-command Assault, just to get a little bit further if you need it. Though nothing super flashy. And then we have Thronegeist Fury for 1 command point in your opponent's movement phase. 1 that ends a move, basically. 1 Imperial Knight's Titanic unit from your army that is within 24, invisible to that enemy unit. Select 1 ranged weapon equipped by a model in your unit. That model can shoot at the enemy unit, and only if it is an eligible target. When doing so, that model can only make attacks with that weapon, and each time it makes a ranged attack, an unmodified hit roll of 6 is required to score a hit, irrespective of the attacking weapon's ballistic skill or any modifiers. Okay, I think we all know what we use this with. Knight Valiant, Flamethrower. Something sets up Deep Strike, hit it with the Flamethrower. This is powerful, though. Being able to shoot with Knights isn't something you can do, as they can't use Overwatch. So, again, just Knight Valiant with a giant Flamethrower, being able to use its Flamethrower to counter anything that gets too close to it. Because I believe the Knight Valiant's Flamethrower even is a little longer range than most. Yeah, it's all the way up at 18 inches, which means, yes, if he sets up in the mid-board, there will be a lot of, definitely things he can toast with that. And this is 100% worth it for 1 command point. So, that wraps up our little overview. Excuse me. But, yeah, I think this detachment is also super powerful. I like both these detachments. I love seeing knights with, big groups of infantry in front of them, so that's very cool. And I think this detachment and the Chaos one are both very, very good. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.